This video is the first of a series of videos I'll be releasing about pantry essentials. In this series, I'll show you how to start stocking your pantry with shelf-stable essentials, share pro tips for pantry organization and storage, and even demonstrate how to use these items to make delicious recipes. Each video will feature game-changing ways to shop from your pantry, which means fewer trips to the store and more savings on your budget. Stick around to learn how to make your pantry work for you. Today's featured pantry staple is powdered milk. We'll go over how to use powdered milk, and I'll use powdered milk in two delicious recipes. I have yogurt and vanilla pudding in process back here. We're going to go over how to make these. This morning I am making up some powdered milk. This weekend I'll be making homemade pudding, vanilla pudding, and homemade yogurt from the powdered milk. So in order to reconstitute the powdered milk, I'll add a half a cup of the powdered milk from my container here into 4 cups of water. So a half a cup of powdered milk to 4 cups of filtered water on the fridge. So it's a little cool, not necessarily room temperature, but the temperature doesn't really matter. You just don't want it boiling. So I'm going to pour this in here. Get that one started, and we'll do a second one. I have 2 of these 2-quart containers here. I didn't do it in one container because I'm making 2 different things, and I wanted to have them in a separate container so I didn't actually accidentally add too much to one. Sometimes I get, flustered, not paying attention, and I end up adding too much for one recipe and not able to make the second recipe. So now I have a little whisk here. I am going to whisk in that powdered milk into, let's see, can you see this? It mixes in very easily. What I like to do is I like to let it sit for maybe a half an hour in the fridge, on the counter. It doesn't matter. You don't want it to sit out in room temperature for too long because it is milk. It will spoil. But for a half an hour isn't gonna, if you're gonna use it right away, it should be fine. I plan on making this evening, so I'm gonna set mine in the refrigerator. Now there's no top on this, and that's fine. If you are just setting it in the fridge for a little bit, I will most likely put a little plastic wrap cover on this just to make sure no debris or anything from the refrigerator falls into the containers here and spoils my milk. We don't want that. So as you can see with this whisk, the whisk really kind of makes the difference here. It whisks right in. I don't know if you can see that or not. It whisks right in. But like I said, I do like to let it sit for just a little bit, half an hour, just to make sure that powder fully reconstitutes back into milk. And when that's done, we will make some vanilla pudding and yogurt. So I'll see you back here this evening. Before we get started on the delicious recipes that we're going to make with the powdered milk, I wanted to take you on a tour of my pantry. I'll show you how I have it organized. It's a work in progress, of course, but you can see I have my drinks, little kitchen appliances organized down at the bottom. And as I move up, you can see I have my quick grab sugar, brown sugar, and all those recipe ingredients, as well as some rice and some flour. My spices, I go a little crazy with my spices, but I make most of them at home, the blends at home. So I keep the base ingredients here in my pantry. And so I'll make the Creole, the curry, it's an Indian mix, and then there's an Italian seasoning in there, which I think I probably purchased. I don't think I blended that one, but there's taco seasoning. Those are seasonings that I've actually made from the spices that I have here on the shelf. So my most commonly used items in my pantry are obviously the spices down here. Cornmeal is a big one for making bread, and obviously cornbread, because that's yummy. But there's cornstarch, baking powder, all those things are in here too. And here's my red wine vinegar. This is the star of the show right here. When I'm doing meal prep, making salads, making dressings, this is the star of the show. This is honey. This is the Costco brand honey. It is raw and unfiltered ingredients. Honey. Nothing else in there. This is what I sweeten my homemade yogurt with, and I have a lot of recipes that call for honey. This is my vanilla, which is, yes, in a vodka bottle, because I make my vanilla at home. You can see the beans in there. See them in there? I have another bottle of this. Oh yeah, here it is. I didn't quite use all of the vodka the last time that I made my homemade vanilla. So this is what it started out as, that clear, obviously vodka is clear, and it's been steeping in there in this vodka for, I don't know, probably been a year or so now. I'm counting the beans, 1, 2, 3, maybe 8 beans in there. These vanilla beans I get off of Amazon. They are $12.99. It's a super great deal. And look how much you get. So as this starts to diminish, I'll take some from the original bottle and just fill this back up. It will dilute, a little bit, but you won't notice the flavor. Shake it up every so often, and it ambers. It ages in ambers, and it becomes delicious vanilla extract that you can use in your baking recipes or anything that calls for vanilla extract. And this doesn't have formaldehyde in it. If you look at the ingredients of your imitation vanilla extracts, they have formaldehyde and they have really bad chemicals in them. The pure vanilla extract will have some sort of alcohol with vanilla in it. So they've done this process and they bottled it in a small bottle, and they're charging you way too much for it. So this bottle of vodka cost me $5.95, something like that, in my local liquor store. And the beans cost me $12.99. And this lasts me. It's gonna last me forever. They don't go bad. It's in vodka, so it doesn't go bad. There's a little floaties in there. If that makes you squeamish, you can, be very careful about your beans, and you can nip off the ends of the beans or whatever, but it's not been an issue. I've baked with this for years. It's not been an issue. Anyway, homemade vanilla. We'll do a video on this one too. Yeah, powdered sugar, powdered milk. This is the one we're going to be featuring today. Powdered milk. I'm going to be making homemade vanilla pudding with our vanilla and our powdered milk, and homemade yogurt with the powdered milk. Now I have already reconstituted the powdered milk. It's sitting in the fridge. It's been in there for half an hour or so. I just want to make sure it's completely reconstituted before we do anything with it. And of course you got the salt, the seasonings, black pepper. In the back, I don't know if you can see that in the back, that's my potato flakes that I made from my big 5-pound haul of potatoes. We froze some of them into hash browns, and we dehydrated the rest of them into potato flakes. So everything else here, we've got powdered eggs. This is a great deal if you have a short supply of eggs at your local grocery store, which we just went through recently. And I ended up buying a bag of powdered eggs on Amazon, and it came out to about $1 an egg, which is pricey. If you think about buying organic eggs, it's a little bit, comparable in price, but to the cheapest, lowest brand eggs at the grocery store, this is going to be more expensive. However, this is shelf stable, so you will always have eggs. There is a moisture absorber in here too somewhere. It's buried, but there's a moisture absorber in there too to keep the moisture out of this, which came with the package. We got a muffin mix, my flours for my bread. There's a bread flour, a pancake mix, granola, which needs a label, Rice Krispies. My husband is a Rice Krispie treat nut, so that's for his Rice Krispies. Then we've got the rices, and there's some tea up there and other things. This is a row of dehydrated foods. Well, this is a mix of hot chocolate, which I don't have labeled, and it didn't fit down on the other one. But this is dried cranberries and bananas. This is a trail mix. This is what I do with those dried fruits. I mix them into this jar, and that's my trail mix. So there's white chocolate chips. I make this myself. So there's white chocolate chips is a nut mix, like this one, the salted mixed nuts. And I'll put some chopped up dried fruit in here, and some other things. Whatever kind of tickles my fancies at the time is what goes in this mix here. So that's pretty much it. There's a couple other things in here. I've got a few canned goods that I reach for every so often. There's my pastas and, you know, my broth. Now, I make most of my broth homemade, but sometimes it's just nice to just grab a thing of of broth. That's 32 ounces, so that's essentially a soup base. If I'm low on time and I don't have the time or the gumption to freeze or to thaw my frozen homemade broth, then I will just reach for this. And that's pretty much it. My little organized drinks down here. All right, so that is a tour of my pantry. And it's worth noting that on the right side over here, this is our quick grab, like snacks and things that we need quick access to. These are my dried fruits. There's a big bag of dates and there's a big bag of plums in here. So what I do is I take those out, chop them up, and put them in my trail mix with white chocolate chips. So that is my pantry. So as you can see here, I have my thermometer ready to take the temperature of the milk. We have to heat the milk to 180 degrees. This will kill any lingering bacteria in the milk that we do not want in our yogurt. 180 degrees is the rule of thumb. Some people let it go a little past that, and that's fine. So right now it's at 187, it's ready. So I'm going to take this off heat and we are going to let this cool. So now that it's reached 180 degrees, we will let it cool to about 110. This does take a little bit of time, takes a couple of hours. So in the meantime, I am going to start on the vanilla yogurt, and we're going to let this sit, but I want to show you what I have ready here and waiting for when the milk is ready. So I have my empty jar that I'm going to pour the milk into, and this is my previous batch of yogurt that I'm going to seed the new batch with. I'll take 2 or 3, maybe 4 tablespoons of this, put it in there, get it ready to go. I can't do that until the milk is 110 degrees though, because it will be, otherwise it'll be too hot for the cultures that are in this, and it will kill them and it won't cure. So we're going to come back to this in a few minutes. Well, it'll be a few minutes for you, it'll be a couple of hours for me, and we're going to start on the vanilla pudding. Okay, so we have our ingredients for homemade vanilla pudding laid out here. So we have white sugar, we have vanilla, cornstarch, salt, and butter, and milk. Here's the milk. Now this is reconstituted powder milk, as I described earlier. I'm going to go ahead and pour the milk in here. This is 4 cups of milk. Turn on the heat here to medium high. Not quite medium, sorry, not quite medium. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to heat up this milk until it gets to about 150, 160. You'll start to see bubbles around the edge, right? You'll start to see bubbles. And when that happens, then we will add our mixture of cornstarch, sugar, and salt. So this mixture is a 1/2 cup of sugar, 6 tablespoons of cornstarch, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt mixed in. So what we'll do when this comes to temperature is we're going to add this slowly into the pot. Stir, 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 stir. In fact, let me get my spoon here. I have my yogurt still sitting over here cooling. So that is still cooling. That temperature is still about 145 degrees. So it's not quite ready. So we're going to do this in the meantime. So anyway, so once that the milk gets to temperature, then we will add the sugar mixture. And once that is all in, we're going to continue to stir and stir and stir and stir on heat until it starts to thicken. Once it thickens, it will coat the spoon, and I will show you exactly what that means. Once it starts to thicken, it will coat the spoon, and at that point, we can remove it from the heat. We can add our 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Stir that in real good, and then we will put it into let it cool just a little bit. And I'm going to be storing it in this reused yogurt container here. This is 2 pounds. I'm making the assumption 2 pounds by weight probably. So we're going to make the assumption that this will hold 4 cups. I think it will. It holds my yogurt. So that's 4 cups. So yeah, this will hold a quart of whatever. In this case, we're going to be putting pudding in it. So we're going to let this come to temperature. It's going to take a few minutes. So I'll see you back here in just a minute. So here we are with our ingredients. They're going to go into our vanilla pudding. So what I have here is I have 4 cups of milk on the stove. I'm on medium heat here. And I have sugar, vanilla extract, which is my homemade vanilla extract, cornstarch, this will thicken it, and salt and butter. That's all that goes into vanilla pudding. Okay, so the quantities here are 4 cups of milk. We're going to put a 1/2 cup of sugar. We're going to put 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 6 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, now the process here is to heat the milk to the point where you're starting to see bubbles around the edge. It's almost there. So we're starting to get bubbles around the edge. And once it comes to temperature, it's not quite there yet, we're going to take this and we're going to stir, 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 pour this in a little at a time, stir, 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 on heat. We're going to continue with the heat. And once it gets to the point where it is coating the spoon, it starts to really thicken, and it's coating the spoon, then we will remove it from heat, and then we will add the remaining ingredients, which is vanilla, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of butter. Those will go in, stir, 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 and then once that starts to cool, it's going to really thicken, and once it gets cool enough to put it in a plastic container, I'm going to pour it into this reused yogurt container. We're at 130 degrees on the milk right now. It's not quite there. Let me see if I can get you closer here. You can see what I'm seeing. All right, so just starting to see some bubbles on the edge of the milk. Just starting to. It's not quite there. I'll show you what it looks like when we get to the point where it's ready for us to add in the ingredients. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. This is where we're at. It's at 160 degrees. This is what we're looking for right here. So I'm going to keep the heat on, and I'm going to start stirring. I'm actually going to lower it just a little bit. Start stirring, and I'm going to start adding our mixture. This is the sugar, cornstarch, and salt mixed together, a little at a time. I'm just going to sprinkle a little in. We're going to stir, stir, stir. Let that get good and incorporated into our milk. Just give it a good 3 count, I guess, before you add more. Add a little bit more. Okay. So stir, 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 stir. When it starts to thicken, I'll bring you in closer and show you exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so moved you in just a little bit closer here. So I can see that it is starting to thicken a little bit. I don't have all of the cornstarch and sugar mixture in there yet. Now I do. So we are going to stir that in until it completely dissolves, and we're going to continue to heat this. I'm just under medium heat. I turned it down just a little bit. We're just under medium heat. I'll show you what I'm looking for. It's already starting to thicken. You can see it's starting to coat the spoon. We're not there yet. So we're just going to continue to heat and stir until we get to the point where it is ready. So start to finish, this process takes about 20 minutes or so. For delicious homemade vanilla pudding, it is 100% worth it. So what I've got here is I just got my little quarter teaspoon measuring cup. And what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating what it looks like when it covers the back of the spoon. Okay, still a little thin. It's getting there. It's getting there. It's hard to stir with my left hand. I am right-handed. Okay, so let's just give it a few more stirs here. So what you're looking for is you don't want it to refill this line. So if you scrape a line through there and it immediately refills it, it's too thin. It's too thin. It's not ready. Now this will continue to thicken as it cools too. Once you take it off heat, oh, there's a little piece of cornstarch. That happens. A little piece of cornstarch there. If you can run your little spoon over the back and you get a clear line without it refilling, then you're about ready. It's ready. It's thickening up pretty good. It won't form peaks. It doesn't get that thick. It doesn't get that thick. Like if you're making whipped cream or meringue, it won't get that thick. And you do occasionally have these little pieces of cornstarch in here. And that's kind of like a, what do they call that? Nature of the beast. Okay. I'm calling that done. That's pretty thick. That's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to remove from heat. And we are ready. Still probably a little warm to put the vanilla in. So I'm going to let this sit for, yeah, it's 200 degrees. I probably could have turned the temperature down just a little bit more. I'm going to let this sit just a little bit. I'm going to put a piece of parchment on it to keep it from forming skin. And we're going to come back when it's cooled off. We're going to put the rest of the ingredients in and we'll finish our pudding. Okay, so I have here a little square of parchment. This is actually sized to fit my Ninja air fryer. So a good way, obviously it doesn't fit. So a good way to make it fit is crumple it up so it doesn't have a specific form it wants to stay in. And it's easier for you to sort of push it down into the form you want. Okay, so I'm going to do it kind of like this. So when I set it in there, it's going to unravel in a circular form. I'm going to use my spoon to help it. I just want it to sit directly on that pudding, and that will keep it from forming a skin. Now, it's not a bad thing if it forms a skin. You'll just need to pull that skin off before you pour it into its final container. And this process is not 100%, but it will help. It will help. Just push down on the sides. You just want to minimize the amount of air it has contact with while it's cooling. Okay. There we go. Now, back to our yogurt. Our yogurt is at 114 degrees. That is perfect. That's perfect because we're going to be putting cold yogurt in there to seed it for the next batch, and it'll cool it off a little bit. So that is perfect. Now my pot has a pour spout. If your pot does not have a pour spout, then I highly recommend using a canning funnel, something like this, so that you don't spill it everywhere. These are really handy tools for refilling these jars, no matter what you're putting in them. I, however, have a pour spout, so I'm going to just pour it directly into the jar here. So if you don't have a thermometer, then you want it to be just warm to touch. It's just warm to the touch. I can pick it up. It's not hot. It's not burning my fingers, but I can feel the warmth. That's about what you're looking for. It's not an exact science. I'm going to be putting this in my dehydrator, which is going to keep it at the right temperature. So the temperature I start with can fluctuate a little bit. I'm at 114. I could be at 95. That would be fine too, because that dehydrator will bring it to temperature. Okay, so I left a little bit of headroom here. I want to make sure I have room for my yogurt culture that I'm going to be putting in there. Okay, so this is from the batch I made last week. This beautiful yogurt. I'm going to do 1, 2. Now this is a Greek yogurt, unflavored. I don't flavor my yogurt in the jar. That's 3 tablespoons. 4 tablespoons. I flavor my yogurt after I pulled it out of the jar, I put it in my bowl or whatever. Then I flavor it. I sweeten it with honey, and I usually put some fresh fruit. You know, you can flavor up some granola, in it. But it does come out unsweetened. This is completely unsweetened. I've not added sugar. The only thing I've added is the yogurt culture. You know what? I think I'm going to do one more. Because this yogurt, I didn't actually strain the whey out of it. So it has a lot of whey in it. Which is just, I call it yogurt water. It's yogurt water. It's the water that's left over from making yogurt. And you can strain it out to make a thicker yogurt. If you leave it in, it's a thinner yogurt. I'm just leaving it in. All right, so now this is ready for the dehydrator. So I will see you back there. Okay, here we are back at the dehydrator. So I have the Magic Mill dehydrator. I love this thing. I've had it for a couple years now. Never had a problem. It works great. Easy to use, and it keeps the temperature exactly where it needs to be. So I'm just going to put my yogurt in there. And we are going to set this to 18 hours. You can go up to 24. The longer it is in there, the more sour it will become. Oh, whoops, I waited too long. Okay, so let's go back to 18 hours. Stop talking and put it in there. Okay, and I want it at 110 degrees. Okay, 18 hours for 110 degrees, press start, and that's it. So as I was saying before, you can leave it in anywhere from 18 to 24 hours. The longer you leave it in, the more sour it will be. Just pull it out, put it straight into the fridge, and let it sit there for a few hours to cool completely. You want it to cool completely. And if you want to strain out the whey, you certainly can. And at that point, once it's cool, you can strain out the whey, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I think we're ready to move forward here. And I'm going to take this parchment off here very carefully. It's still warm, so I'm going to do this very carefully. Toss this real quick. Okay. So as you can see, it did prevent us from getting a film on here, and this has started to thicken up nicely, very nicely. Okay, so we're going to put in our 2 teaspoons of 1, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay, and 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, put that in there. So give this a stir. And once everything is melted and incorporated, and you can see it's still steaming. I think I might put this in a glass container instead of a that plastic container. It's still a little warm, I think, for the plastic container. But we'll see. Maybe we'll just yeehaw it and pour it in. Can always make another batch. Okay, so we're still a little bit of butter. We're not quite incorporated yet. So I'm just going to continue to... Now, as this cools, it will thicken more and more and more to the consistency that you would expect pudding to be. Okay. My butter is completely... Oops, nope, there's still a little piece that we're still waiting for that to incorporate completely. All right. Okay, I think we're good. All right, now, I think I'm just going to yeehaw it. I'm going to pour it right in this container here. Okay, let's see what its temperature is. I think it's about 150. It's 165. So I did a little research on this plastic container because I don't really want to ruin my batch by pouring a liquid that's too hot for the container to handle. So on the bottom of the container, it says PP5. Now, a little Googling has revealed that the PP means polypropylene. And that is a plastic that can hold and tolerate high temperatures. We are at 165, and its maximum temperature that it can tolerate is 266. So I think we're okay. I'm going to pour it in. Always good to do some research if you're not sure. Okay. So I'm using the spoon here to help keep it. Let me see if I can show you this before I get it all in there. I'm using the spoon. This is a little trick that I do when I'm pouring liquids. I use the spoon to keep it from splattering all over the place. It really works, and it's sort of a habit for me now, but I thought I'd like to show you this neat little trick that I have. All right, now I will say that sometimes, ooh, that's good, sometimes you will see little clumps of cornstarch. That is normal. When it's homemade, that is normal, and has to do directly with how we added the cornstarch to the pudding. So, to prevent that, if that bothers you, if you don't want the clumps of the cornstarch, so what you would do is you would take the little bit of cornstarch, remember we poured it in a little bit at a time, take that little bit of cornstarch, mix it with some of the hot milk first outside of the large container, put it in a smaller container, right? Pour that in, mix it in good. That will minimize the lumps of the cornstarch. They're not egregious. I've made this, I don't know how many times. They're not egregious. They're just little itty bitty tiny lumps. You do sometimes get that texture when you're biting into it. It does not bother us because we know it's homemade. But if it bothers you, then you want to just pour it into the hot liquid, a little bit of the hot liquid first, and then pour it into the main batch. Okay, so here we are, vanilla pudding. Done. So this is warm. So it's too warm to put in the refrigerator. I'm going to let this sit on the counter until it gets to room temperature. Or well, you know, it doesn't have to be room temperature, but cool enough to put in the refrigerator so it doesn't, you know, spread the heat to something in there that could spoil. And looks like the plastic is doing fine. No problem there. Okay, and that is it. That is vanilla pudding. So once this sets in the fridge, we'll pull it back out and show you what it looks like. Beautiful, scoopable vanilla pudding. Welcome back. What we have here are our finished products. We have a quart of vanilla pudding and a quart of yogurt, Greek yogurt, that came out of the dehydrator this morning. It was in there for 18 hours on 110. This was in the refrigerator overnight, and it has set beautifully. Let's just double check here. So we get a nice, thick, beautiful, beautiful pudding. Just like that. I'm going to try it. Oh, yeah. Very good. So what we do in my family is we just scoop this out into a little cup and we'll have a little bit. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually, before you put it in the fridge, you could separate it out into small cups and let it set that way. That way it's individual serving when you pull it out of the fridge. Either way, it'll set fine either way. So for our yogurt here, we are going to taste test this guy and get a different spoon. Okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. Put some nice thick yogurt there. Now it is a little runny for my taste. It has the whey in it still. One additional step you can take is to um, let the whey drip out of the yogurt. It's plain. I mean, I prefer to sweeten it with honey and give it a little flavor, but it has that nice tart flavor that you would expect in Greek yogurt. So in order to let the whey drip out, here's one little technique that you can use. Most people recommend cheesecloth. Just set it over cheesecloth and upside down and let the whey drip out, and that works fine. There are so many different ways to do this. What I do is I take this cheesecloth. This is the same one I keep using. I just wash it and reuse it. And it's maybe folded over 2, 3, 4 times. So it's a nice fine mesh comparable to something like this. Okay, if you don't have cheesecloth, something like this, a really fine mesh is what you need. This mesh is not fine enough. If you can see that, this mesh is not fine enough. The yogurt will go through this. You need something finer than just a regular mesh. Cheesecloth works great. Something like this would work great if you had it a way to drip through. And here's what I'm going to do. So I took the lid off of my jar, just like this. I have the ring without the center part. I'm going to just there we go, off the threads. And in here, I have another ring and my 4-quart Pyrex. Here, if you can see that, my 4-quart Pyrex. I have a little ring sitting down in there. I'm going to take my yogurt and you know what? I'm going to rubber band. Okay, so I'm going to take my yogurt. I'm going to put a little rubber band around the cheesecloth so it doesn't fall down into the whey. Okay, so we are going to take this, we are going to turn it upside down. See it dripping? That is the whey dripping out. You can see it bubbling up here inside the jar. We're just going to let that sit right on that ring, and we're going to let the whey collect in the bottom of this container here for, I don't know, it doesn't take very long, a couple hours. I will put this in the fridge and just let it sit for a couple hours, check on it every so often. I can see the whey in the jar when I move it around. That whey will all be gone. It'll be down in the bottom of this measuring cup at the end of a couple of hours. And then it'll be nice and thick. It won't be runny. If you like to make yogurt shakes, for example, you want the whey. You won't need to make it thicker because it'll be nice and thin, and it will be a perfect application for a yogurt shake. Mix some strawberries and honey or whatever you want to mix it with, whatever, shake it up really good, stir it really good, and it'll be a great shake. It'll be perfect. Perfect consistency for that. But if you like to spoon it, a nice thick yogurt, then you'll want to take the whey out, let it drip out, and finish this process. And there's no whey in this. This is not the same kind of process. This is not a culture. So there's no byproduct. Whey is a byproduct of the culture incubation, essentially, of yogurt. This is pudding. This is a completely different process. Well, there's no whey here in this. Ironically, it is in a yogurt container, but that's okay. I know the difference. I know my yogurt's in this. But it's always wise to date and label your homemade, especially if you're reusing a container, Others in your family may not know that this is not yogurt and may be surprised when they eat pudding instead of yogurt. Or if you've put something else in this, obviously you want to label it, see what it is, with a date so you know when to take it out. That's it for today. Let me know in the comments your favorite pantry essentials. If you haven't already, be sure to download my free pantry restock guide, which I'll link in the description. The guide outlines how to plan smart and shop smart with do-it-yourself inspiration to keep your pantry stocked and working for you, plus a bonus recipe. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified for more ways to save time in the kitchen and save money on your grocery budget. Thank you for watching and happy cooking.